Hi, and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers, and today I have Cath Leask of the Loving Lotus with me today. Hi, Cath.
Hi, how you
I'm
going?
I'm excited for today, and we're in different days, so you're going to predict the future, and I'm going to
Ah,
predict the past.
Hi, I'm Kath, coming to you from your future.
So before we get too far away from where we're going to start, can we set the intention? I asked you if you would take out your
Yeah.
beautiful deck and if you would pull a card for us for our intention today.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we jump into that, I just wanted to acknowledge and pay my respects to the ancestors of the native lands that I'm sitting on. This is the Ngunnawal people, and it's Canberra in Australia, and those guardians of the land that have looked after this space since time immemorial. And I always want to pay my respects to the Ojibwe and the Dakota people, the native lands, and the custodians of the country that you're coming from, and the acknowledge what the care and love and healing that they have put into these spaces since long before we can remember. And yes, thank you so much for asking about my deck, Burns of Becoming. Very, very deep healing journey for me, but I'm sure we'll get into that. And just before we jumped on, I did do a little shuffle, and you can't make this stuff up, right? So we've got nine, the sacred disruption. Nine. We've
Oh,
just ended a 9 year cycle, right? So our universal year last year was nine. We're going into a 1 year. So this is the rebellion card. This is all about truth and awakening and the breakthrough, because with particularly the snake year and the 9 year that we're coming out of, a lot of people have been struggling, not just the endings, but actually letting them go, holding on to them
oh,
because they've been such a they've set up shop. They're sitting in the lounge room, feet up on the coffee table. They've made some popcorn and they're helping themselves to the Coke Zero in the fridge, right? So, yeah, this is all that breakthrough from that. And whilst we might call the little mantra for this one is some call it rebellion, but the soul calls it remembering. And we just
mhm.
had that comment like, why? You meet people and it's so familiar. So I love this because we really never have been here to keep the peace, but it's about shifting the frequency. And when we think about peace, yes, it's peace. We're not starting wars, right? But it's in terms of when we quiet ourselves, when we mute ourselves at the risk of our own, well, at the risk of the comfort of everybody else. And I guess starting off with acknowledging the lands of Native peoples, yeah, when we hear Native people speak to their truth, they are often quiet and shut up, gaslit, and all the rest of it. But we take this so much more broadly across the board. Me, I'm of a generation where it was sit down, shut up, be quiet. That's not very ladylike. So for me, breaking through that conditioning of speaking my truth and yeah, the uneasiness with that, we can think of it in a destruction sense, but really it's an awakening. And yeah, I'm just looking at a couple of notes here that I put up, and it was the tremor before the truth arrives. Like, how powerful
Oh,
is that? The tremor before the truth. I love the power of this. The deck has the snake quite popular through the deck because it is all about this shedding, the medicine wheel, shedding the wheels, shedding the wounds of the past. But yeah, look, to be a disruptor, we do carry a bit of a heavy sacred burden because we are loving fiercely, but we're not destructing for destruction's sake. Yeah, there is a lot of resistance when we are the sacred disruptor, but to not let that harden us, but
mm,
just yeah, to push through and you know what I often say? It doesn't matter what you say; it's how you say it. And you can tell someone
yeah.
to F off, but you can, in Australia, it's a term of endearment, right? So anyway, I said, look, already not enough coffee, and my brain's already going up. So look, the greatest truths often arrive wrapped in chaos, yeah. And I think this
Ah,
was the snake year for a lot of people, the realizations and the chaos around it, and the cracking of the shell, and it wasn't just, you know, how birds crack through and a little bit of the shell falls away. This was literally the shell exploding off it. So yeah, this is calling on that courage to hold space for disruption, and yeah, the oh, all of it. It's just, yeah, look, I always have an inspired action with each of the cards, and this one was about journaling. Where have you silenced yourselves in order to keep other people comfortable? And yeah, write one sentence, one unapologetic sentence. And I want to go on to this and say about silencing yourself or shifting your narrative. And one of my beautiful brother boys, Lachlan, oh God, I adore him, Lockie. He's my spirit animal. And here in Australia, we have a similar colonisation history to the Americas. And with my cockatoos have shown up right on cue. When the settlement of European people came, over that time, Aboriginal people were pretty much rounded up and put on missions, aka akin to reservations, stripped of language, stripped of culture, and with children being, with women being taken, and babies being born, babies that were light enough to be assimilated or passed into civilized society were taken from their families. And we have what was called the stolen generations, which was right up until 1977. And my friend Lockie, his grandmother was a stolen generation, and he would say, when my grandmother was taken, and we have a racial discrimination commissioner here in Australia. Look, Cath gets straight to the hard points on the podcast.
Right out of the gate. That's awesome.
Yeah, right. And Lockie was saying when my grandma was taken, and really, the commissioner, he turned around and went, Lockie, stop softening your language to make other people comfortable. When your grandmother was stolen, and it's a narrative, or it's a conditioning that needs to be changed, and that the gaslighting, particularly in this country, around because the narrative that's been fed in terms of what Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have received, the free stuff, which there's no free stuff. It's awful. You just have to open social media. And me, my grandmother was a Wiradjuri person, and Wiradjuri country is just not far from here. But she never set foot on her own country. She didn't know her native ties at all. She lived 600 kilometers away, which is, I don't know how many miles.
I don't either. But if somebody wants to know, there's a thing called Google, and they can find it.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So part of all of that, yeah, we oh God, our history is horrific, and it equally as the Americas, but our government still doesn't have a treaty with Native peoples in this country. We're one of 3 countries that do not have treaty with Native peoples. So we have what was called the White Australia policy. So back in 1903, around the time of Federation, they decided that if you weren't Anglo-Saxon looking, you had to do a test. And Chinese people came in the 1800s. I think there were Jamaicans, I think I read somewhere, on the first fleet that came out. And then that White Australia policy turned into assimilation policies. And we even have we have the parliament here, as opposed to you guys having Congress. And in our parliamentary records, they speak of breeding the blackout in 2 to 3 generations, solving the problem of the Aborigine, as they called it. And that came out of the mouth of somebody called the protector of Aborigines. Yeah. It's horrific, and a lot of Australians don't even do their history, and the history that we've learnt has been very whitewashed, and yeah, it's really sad. So I'm really grateful that I've got some amazing connections within community, and my ex was a Torres Strait Islander man. So if you look at a map of Australia and you see the pointy bit, the top of there is the Torres Strait Islands in between Australia and Papua New Guinea. They're all part of Australia, and Torres Strait Islander people are First Nations, Indigenous, native to Australia. And then through the late 17, early 1800s, there was a lot of what was called blackbirding. So similar to how Africans were taken to the Americas as part of cotton and whatnot, people were blackbirded from the South Pacific and brought to Queensland for the sugar cane. So they were displaced as well. So it's, yeah, the colonisation impacts to this day are just, the systems that were put in place. Anyway, not where I thought I would go this morning, but the Sacred Disruptor card clearly was taking me there. But yeah, so I'm encouraging people, to speak up and not, speak your truth. I love it. The lightning strike of clarity coming through. If we're thinking going from the 9 to the 1 or the snake to the horse, thinking. I love the analogy of a snake needs to shed his skin to grow.
Mm.
A snake cannot grow without that skin, but yet we carry what we wear. We carry this armor. We carry all these wounds and all of because we get so comfortable with it, so to speak. But time to put it down. Time to leave the skin in the corner and set the friggin' thing on fire so it turns to ash and we can never pick it up again.
That's like full-blown transformation right there. It turns to ash and we can never pick it up again. It goes from one quality to another, and it can't be returned to what it was. You know?
That's it. Transmutation in its finest, in literal form. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know they have no snakes in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Like literally just over the sea. Apparently there are no snakes there. No snakes. Zero snakes. All right.
That's interesting.
This is Kath without enough caffeine.
I love it.
Unmedicated, unfiltered. I'm surprised I haven't dropped the swears yet.
Oh, you can swear. I swear all the time.
Excellent.
I think, I'm good with swearing. I think that that's my truth. Swearing feels good. It's a way to move energy, and sometimes it's a way to show love, and sometimes it's a way to move some stuff that needs to go.
I often say I speak 2 languages. Profanity is my first language, and English is my second.
Yeah.
But it's a national sport for Australians. It's like when you hear people drop the C-bomb, and it's like, yeah, mate. Like Ben Affleck drops it in his latest movie, his reunion with Matt Damon, and it's like, dude, I love you that you're just dropping it like it's g'day, mate. But no, there's something so with an Aussie accent. It just, I don't know, just works. I have a whole chat with a couple of people where we just send C-bomb memes to each other. Oh my God. And then when somebody says, oh, I don't like that word, why? It's just a word.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want to get you banned off the internet.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. To keep it not banned material would be nice.
keeping it PG rated.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But look, isn't he beautiful? Isn't he powerful?
I love that. I'm curious about this deck because you said, oh God, it's just so good. You said you created this deck, like this deck was created or birthed around your journey? Healing journey?
So years and years and years and years ago, I did a tarot course. As you know, tarot is my other love. And Sal Jade, who is a guest on your podcast, who I absolutely adore, Sal. And I did a tarot, and it wasn't so much to learn tarot, but it was to just find my way back to it. And a lot of people do. They put their deck down and don't come back to it. And this was, oh my God, 10 years ago or more maybe. And I met a bunch of incredible women to this day, still friends with, across the world. I think I was one of very few Australians that were in that course. Quite a few Americans, a girl from the UK, and we're all friends. And one of those ladies, Julia, and she's in Illinois and Dallas City, Illinois. And she went off and did Albert Villalodo's Four Directions, like the medicine wheel based on Alberto's teachings. And then she put the call out and to us. There were 4 of us from that OG tarot course that she invited us to her inaugural teaching. And it was, I love the synchronicity. You can't make this up, right? As you know, Michelle, I work in regulation, so I'm ex-customs and border protection myself, ex-policing. Firearms was a big chunk of my career in regulation. I was a competition pistol shooter for 20 odd years, and I still work in the regulation space. Now I'm in road vehicle safety. We're on the capability side, uplifting teaching. And I was with a different employer who I am with now, but that experience was horrific. I nearly took responsibility for removing myself from this existence. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It was probably not one of the worst experiences of my life, but I had gotten to the point where I was not safe. There was zero safety, and I walked out on the 11th of January, 11/1 or 1/11 if you're stateside, and it was 2024, I think it was. And then the following week, we opened the wheel. We started. And I have never not been able to get employment, ever in my life. I walk out of one job, another job, boom, falls in, happy days. And I'm like, well, luckily I've got my business, and I've got, I put up on the online, I've got appointments next week, and my books were filled for a few weeks. And it was okay. It was okay, but it was never my intention to pivot full time into my business at that point. 6 months later, we've cut ties, and then I got offered 3 jobs. Boom, boom, boom. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like WTF. Wednesday, right. Thursday, Friday. WTF.
Right.
And it was, and then I started the job that I'm in, and I'm still there now, and I work part-time and work in my business part-time, which I love. Beautiful balance, the masculine, the feminine, beautiful balance, the masculine structure, the mask direction and authority, the beautiful divine femme flow. And I loved the journey through the wheel to the point that I started doing rattle birthing, like I had to find a rattle for the journey. So I made my own, and I got kangaroo skin and birthed this beautiful rattle. And then I went down a whole journey of becoming a drum birthing doula, and it just kind of exploded. And then Julia invited us for a second spin around the wheel. And I just couldn't get the timings to match for the US-Australia time difference. So I started writing my own medicine wheel journey, and through that, and I had started creating a tarot deck years ago, put it down, pick it up, not that many years ago, but maybe 4 years ago. And I've been chipping away. It started as a book, How to Learn Tarot, and then kind of became a deck. And then through this second wheel journey, I pivoted and started creating the cards, and I'm like, that was more reinforcing the learnings of the 4 directions and the medicine wheel, and then I put it down like you do with a spicy brain, and then I went away for work. And if you think of a map of Australia, and we've got the pointy bit, and then we've got the other bit, like at the top. I went all the way up to this other bit, which was 3,500 kilometres from home. Don't ask me what that is in miles. I can look it up. And it was a 5-hour flight to Darwin. So if you look for Darwin, and then it was an hour to Nhulunbuy, and then it was, I think, about 35 kilometres into the wilds of Northern Territory. and living in this campsite with on country, storytelling with elders, and it's Australia's largest cultural festival called Garma, and it's every year. Our Prime Minister goes, ministers, as opposed to presidents, and I don't know what you don't have ministers there in your I don't know what you guys call them, but you have a politician that's in charge of a particular portfolio. So we'd have the minister for Indigenous affairs or stuff like that. And I got really, really sick. I got influenza A, and within hours, I'd gone from being okay to a fever of 104 Fahrenheit. I know that. I know 39 is about 104. I know that. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they told me I couldn't stay there because apparently influenza A wasn't hospitalizable. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to stay. So I had to mask myself up, get on a plane, get back to Darwin. I stayed overnight in Darwin and then got back to went to Melbourne and then to Canberra. So it was a long day of flying, and then fell apart. I don't know how I did it, but it's amazing how we dig deep to do what we have to do. I just needed to get home. And then the first few days, the first week, I was so sick. I ended up with bronchitis or something else upper what do you call it, respiratory. And then there's only so much Netflix, there's only so much scrolling, and I picked up my computer and I picked up the deck and I just got it finished. And my best friend had come over and just sang with me, and she's like, "You're having an affair with your laptop, love me." It's so beautiful. But I'd sit there for 12 hours and I'd just be so hyper-focused. And then I launched a Kickstarter and it funded in 3 days. I did it. This was my prototype deck, but and I, of course, all of the worry of what will people think? Oh my God, they'll think I'm full of shit, or like all of that imposter syndrome stuff. Who am I? And then I met this incredible human, Danny, who is she's Chilean and she's from the top end of Chile, so she's Andean lineage. Oh my gosh, I was looking at her DNA the other day, fascinating, and her being with those connections, because being based on the Quero medicine wheel, I wanted to make sure that there was no appropriation. I wanted to make sure that this deck was truly respectful to the Quero lineage, and she kicks my butt when I say Conda instead of Condor, because the Australian way is Conda. It's a suburb. It's a suburb where I live, Conda. She's like, it's Condor and Quero, and yeah, God love her. So yes, she's been fabulous in that, and I actually have a card. Before I met her, I had designed a card, and then one day I messaged her and I went, "Oh my God, look at this! This card was created before we met." And
did you do the artwork? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but did you do the artwork on this deck as well?
That's what she looks like.
Oh, wow.
And then that one is the only spider in the deck, which is homage to my bestie Louise, who is a witch. And yeah, spider is her power animal. So, and because she does a lot of spellcraft, boundaries are a spell. So that was the card dedicated to her.
That's awesome.
I didn't paint the imagery. So I taught myself Procreate. I taught myself, I think it's Krita, Krita, which is a Mac version of Photoshop. And I used an AI tool, and I know there's a lot of, I mean, like anything, there's always the clutch the fake pearls. So I had a lot of, I knew the style and the color scheme. And I had a lot of rudimentary sketches in terms of this is how, like with the Sacred Disruption card, I want him looking like this, fierce, the lightning, the snake, the condor in here, all of that. So it was all very, very specific. And here's my sketch of what I want that to look like, and then building it from there. And I have been 100% open with it. And that was one of my biggest worries was, I had read somewhere about the comment being made, and it wasn't against me, but taking art away from artists. And I'm like, but what about me and me as an artist? And this is my way of, um, yeah. And when you, and I absolutely, I would happily team up with somebody to, if there is that fit there. But when you do team up with another person, their influence or their vision, and I think for this was so deeply personal for me because it was such a deep dive into myself. I could never have done it with another person. There's just, yeah, it was so transformative talking about that skin turning to ash. And just this week alone, the amount of people that have messaged me and said, thank you so much for creating this deck in my whatever insert happening. I picked up the deck, it was screaming at me, and the cards that came out were exactly the medicine I needed or the action I needed to take. And I think I say to people, it's not a reading deck. You're not sitting there picking it up like you would your tarot and going, oh, well, this is what's going on kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is that deeply healing deck of the mirror. I mean, tarot to a degree is a mirror, but this really is there to go, right, the message. I mean, you might be sitting there in your darkest moment and the card "You Are the Miracle" pops out and you're like, wow, in the darkest soil, the brightest flowers bloom. It's like saying on the darkest of night, you need the dark nights to see the stars kind of thing. And
Yeah.
got my little lotuses. There's a few lotuses peppered through the deck too.
Nice. So does that deck, I understand. I actually love what you're saying about how it's not like you lay out several cards and do a reading. It's more like it calls to you and you pull a card and it has exactly what you need in that moment. Does it
Yeah.
because I'm not super familiar with the wheel,
Yep.
but
Yep.
is it also like if you were to start at card one and read through the book, is it a story? Does it help you understand that on some level? Or is it, I mean, I know that's
Look,
not needed as well,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
also,
Look, I think a little bit. The journey's there. There's 4 streams of wisdom that I have threaded into the deck, and wounds, strengths, inspirations, and was it motivations? I think I changed one of them at the last minute when I don't like that. And yeah, so some cards are the wound. Some are highlighting your strength. One is giving you an empowerment kick, and the other one is like that inspiration. My friend Susie Cherub, who is a gorgeous, gorgeous spiritual woman here in Australia, and she was a teacher of mine, intuitive business mentor. She has 5 decks, and one of the things that she threads to her deck is faith in action steps. And I said to her on her podcast, Ask the Oracle, said I have to give you that kudos and say I love the faith in action steps. So I had to have an inspired action because it's like, okay, well you've got the card. What's the medicine? So something that I have added in there is things like the element, so water, fire, earth, air, the direction of the wheel, because the wheel you start in the south, which is serpent, Sachamama, the shedding of the physical wounds, moving into Jaguar, which is the west, which is a lot of what's going on more up here, the shadow side, those perceptions, what stories are we telling ourselves, into the north, which is hummingbird. And I love the north, and we don't have hummingbirds here in Australia. The closest thing we have is a honey eater. But it's about part of it is finding that joy again. I found joy and knowing that we can be still, but still moving forward to get that almost at the bigger picture. And then we move to the east, and that's that condor eagle. I sit more with eagle because one, we don't have condor here, but we do have eagles here. And I did play and sit with it thinking, how can I convert this, or how can I put my own Indigenous knowledge or the knowledge of lands? And I thought, no, I have to stay true. This is Kiro teaching, and I need to keep it Kiro, because it doesn't mean I can't sort of find my way in a more Australian sense or something that aligns, but have them parallel or even sort of touching each other. But one of the things in the Kiro lineage is Anyi, which is sacred reciprocity, and I love it. And the theory of it in Wiradjuri, we have Yindimara, and Yindimara is going slow. It's about walking with that reciprocity, or walking with that respect for country, sea, the ancestors, spirit, and just, yeah, like with Anya and that sacred reciprocity, that everything is connected, and walking with that respect of all of it. And it's so there are these beautiful little connections. You see, people say chakra and chakra, and it's chakra. And I apologize to any listeners from the Indian subcontinent that if I don't get that pronunciation right, but yeah, chakra, and it's 5,000-year-old Vedic medicine, and I love a good. Yeah, I've been working in that space for a long time, but even in the Kero lineage, there is the Nyowis, which is the energy centers, not too dissimilar to the chakra system, two completely different continents, yet very, very similar. And then we go to the Celtic lineage, which is the three cauldrons, which represent the upper, the lower, and the middle world. If we come back to Andean cosmology, we've got the upper, middle, and like it is wild when we look at Indigenous teachings or ancient teachings across the planet. The synchronicity or the similarities. Um, so I put the Nyowis in there. Everybody loves a good celestial. Well, what's this connected to? So I went with the seasons and the celestials based on the Southern Hemisphere, because, again, the Kero are Southern Hemisphere. So sorry, Northern Americans.
Don't be sorry. It's amazing.
South side represent, right?
I love
Oh my
I
gosh.
love I love all the you can't make this shit up moments.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's so, oh really? I so don't believe in coincidence.
No,
I haven't. I just think, I think that means something.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. The kindredness of it all. And I had someone, I get it every now and then. I get people comment on my Facebook, and they say, I feel like we've met before, or even you and I are sitting down. It's like I'd say it's a soul recognition. But a friend of mine, enlightened me about the invisible threads. And there's a whole philosophy of invisible threads, and I think there's either a book about it. Let me just have a quick look. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And the theory is that um, um, that we all are connected through these invisible threads. And oh God, I'm butchering that. Like it's people are destined to be together. Or people are connected by an unseen, unbreakable string, regardless of time, distance, or circumstance. That bond pulls people together. Yeah. So I think that's not the one I'm looking for, but it's yeah, it's just a fascinating concept. I think there was a whole not so romanticized ideal around it, but somebody has unpacked it. My friend Em will listen to this and she'll say, "This is what it was," but I can't
Well,
can't
she can
remember.
comment.
Yeah, that's it. God love her. God love her. Is that in? Yeah. Anyway, I'll go down a whole rabbit hole with that one, but it's yeah, and I think the other philosophy around that one was, I don't know if I read it, thought it, dreamt it, but when we pass and our soul, our spirit returns to source, that we all go back to the same pool or the same source, and that's why we feel these familiar threads that we've all, yeah, and then that feeds into the whole past life / alternate life regression thing, why some people have these shared memories, because we go back to this pool, and then we go back out if we're looking at the reincarnation aspect. I don't know. I'm not dead. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever shot they give you so that you don't remember going into the next life. Need an Akashic Records reading for that one.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, there's so much we don't know, but I never want to stop learning. I never want to stop being wowed by this incredible
That's
universe.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. There's something about it. Those moments of wonder or like the ahas or you said something earlier. My brain is going back to it. Maybe it's not my brain, maybe it's my, connection or our connection. But I'm in this pondering state of our words and our power. I put that in quotes because we were talking before we got on the mic about um, people feeling free to say anything they want to
Mm,
online.
mm.
But, and I'm wondering about specifically when, how people will say, speak your truth, stand in your
Yep.
power. But
Oh, it.
But like sometimes or like don't feed the trolls, for example. You were talking about don't
Yeah,
feed the trolls.
yeah,
Like when
yeah,
people
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nasty online, I think sometimes to be in your truth is to make a story out of it or is to respond to it. And it's not that you're giving away your
No,
power or that you're feeding theirs. It's more that
that's
like
it.
well, let's play, let's dance,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go somewhere with
yeah,
this because
yeah.
I'm called to go somewhere with this. And that doesn't mean
Absolutely.
I'm giving away my power just because I chose to engage with someone who I know doesn't have my best interest at heart. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
I had to laugh at that one because that particular post has gone nuts anyway. So who's got the power, kid?
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
thank you.
and there's the one thing that gives me the ick about the statement standing in your power, and you hear that a lot in spiritual circles. How the fuck do you not know that I haven't been standing in my power all these years just to friggin' survive, for crying out loud? Like,
Right.
we like even in the spiritual space, there is these assumptions and this un like without consent, people weighing in kind of thing and going, oh, well, you need to stand in your power. Well, hang on a minute. You're not my therapist. I haven't asked you for you to tune in. And if you were tuning in and you were worth your weight of intuitive power, you would know that, yeah, I've spent the last 52 years standing in my power because I had no choice not to. So there's this difference, and I'm really careful with my words in that sense now, and I try not to say standing in your power, but more recognizing that you have been forced into that power and having to survive. And right now, let's speak it. Let's not. And yeah, speaking our truth. And part of look, number one, the comment for context for the listeners is I got trolled on YouTube. I've only just started the YouTube posting. Facebook business page for 10 years, and no one has ever said anything like that except for the, oh, that's evil, that's devil worshipping kind of thing. Well, if he looks like Lucifer, Tom Ellis's Lucifer, I'm down. And they said, ew, a grandma with metal in her face. Now I've seen it all with vomit emojis. And I'm like, oh wow, you poor thing. If that's wow, if that's how sheltered your life is, but it gave me the inspiration to create a video. Inspiration, not living rent free in my head. But the fact that people think it's okay to go on and say that. And it's one thing to speak truth, but it's another thing when it's really offensive or detrimental or for no reason putting someone down. Like, WTF, Wednesday, Thursday,
Right.
Friday.
Yeah.
And and somebody had then commented overnight saying, oh, you're letting a troll live rent free in your head, and then giving your power away to make a video of it. Well, no, because I couldn't give two shits what this person said. What exasperates me is that we live in this society where people think it's okay on an anonymous account behind a keyboard to make horrible comments to people. Would you walk up to someone on the street and go, oh, ew, grandma, metal in your head? Oh, well, I wish I'd clap back and said, well, wait till you see my tattoo sleeve, mate. Jeez. That was my 2024. I figured I could have done 5 grand in therapy or 5 grand in therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. So, if that's the worst thing that's happened to you today was seeing me with a nose ring, oh, you poor dear thing. But yeah, so this person that's made these comments, in my mind, is no better than the person that made those comments in the first place. Because you know what, you could have just scrolled past. If something isn't your cup of tea, scroll past. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
and I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think your response to it is a beautiful thing because I think there are people out there, I often hear celebrities, right? Put that quote in quotes too, but like people at a certain like status of known around the world say, "Oh, I never read the comments. I never ever read the comments because I can't
Um,
handle them." But here's what I think is beautiful about what you just like told us about. For the people who can't help themselves and do read the comments, that's a beautiful expression of I am me. I'm good with me. And also, if I don't feel okay about how I'm being treated, I'm okay with saying that too.
that's
And if
it.
I'm
Yep.
inspired to say a video because some whatever, I won't go to that place, but like because somebody chose to say something unkind to just reveal what that could look like in a way that doesn't take you to rock bottom.
That's it. And case in point, yeah. And I made that comment the other day because I clapped back with, and I made the comment back to this person. I said, well, here I am sharing positivity on the internet as I am openly, and you're saying nasty things. I know which side I'd rather be on. But yeah, how? And that's responsibility, right? If you're going to go and make those comments, how do you know that I'm not hanging by a thread? And for people that have been with me for the last 5 years, I guess on my social media would know, I started the tarot reading videos. I was at the lowest of lows, and there were days that I would drag myself out of bed. And if you go far enough back, you see me in my dressing gown, still coming on and doing a card pull video because that was my medicine. 5 minutes of joy, hummingbird energy a day. Just and my bestie Louise, she will say, "Go on, go do it. You know you'll feel better." Because I go, "Oh God, I don't have any inspiration. Go and do it. You know you'll feel better." And it became such a habitual practice because one, it made me feel better, but within a couple of months, I'd get comments. I had a lady from Canada message me and go, I saw your video. I couldn't get out of bed today, and I saw your video, and I not only got out of bed, but I wanted to be a barber 30 years ago, and I thought I'd missed the boat. I've gone and enrolled, and I start next week. And then 6 months later, I got a message from her saying, Kath, I'm about to do my assessment. I'd love to do your haircut. And I had the short back and sides and the high hair at that point. And can I get some photos of your hair? And then she sent me the photos of her assessment piece. Like one person, massive impact. I might not be able to change the world, but to change the world for one person, like amazing. And that's what keeps me going in the sense of turning up. And so, yes, when somebody does say something nasty, look, stuff like that doesn't worry me. But the comment that this woman said about this troll living rent free in my head, but that's the other side of it. If you knew me, if I play these my processing out online, and I say the things that I that some people can't say, won't say, don't know how to say, too scared to say. The amount of feedback I get, and I read the comments because people say, "Oh my gosh, you put into words everything I've been struggling to say. Oh my God, thank you for showing up so I don't feel alone." And I that person that wasn't there for me when I needed the guiding light, the bright the lighthouse in the storm. And I will continue to read the comments, but I would never write something like that to someone because that's awfully bold of her to assume that I've given my power away. Hey, no. I have lived through not having any power. I am a survivor of childhood violence, of adult violence, and the double barrel that we spoke of. And yeah, and it's taken me 52 friggin' years to go, I actually like who I am. I'm actually comfortable in my skin. And I don't look in the mirror and go, like I might look and go, oh, gee, I'm looking a bit tired this morning, but I'm not going, oh, God, yeah. I would have never worn short shorts before. And you know what? I got my little denim cut-offs, that 52-year-old grandma with metal in her face and denim cut-offs, and I go over to Kmart. Like, whatever, man, it's a you problem. I'm doing me. And yeah. And I think that's, yeah. So going back to the whole speaking our truth, yeah, it's comes with power comes great responsibility, right? And yes, we can all be a little bit kinder. Calling out the crap. I mean, grandma with metal in your face, let's talk about the human rights atrocities across. Well, go and comment on that, for crying out loud, not grandma. Yeah. So does it live rent free in my head? Of course it does. But I've got a spicy brain, and I'm going to obsess about it for a few days, and then it'll be like, okay, on to the next crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing I notice, I mean, to sort of circle to the other side of that coin is I'm finding, I don't know, I just see it a lot and I can't even pinpoint where, but it's just like in this conversation, I'm realizing the amount of people that are, I guess I would use the word deflecting, like the chaos in the world right now is so intense and chaotic and too much for me, literally, that I have
I
to find
know.
the smallest other thing that
Mm,
feels approachable to me to
yep.
move that energy. And you were on the flip side of that, and that sucks. But also, you were a living example of how to hold that space, receive it,
Correct.
and just say, no, no, thank you.
Yeah.
This isn't
Yeah.
mine. And that's
Yeah.
I am trying to find a lot of grace. And look, I'm not advocating. Look, we're all assholes sometimes. Like we just
Oh
everyone's an
God.
asshole, you
You
know? We
do
all
if
are.
my best friend, if Louise and my texts ever get leaked, we're going to jail in bright
Yeah.
orange jumpsuits. And orange is not, well, orange is her colour because she loves Halloween, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
And look, we're too pretty for jail.
Right.
We're too pretty for
Right. And so I think
jail. But
I try and see the world through that lens is like, look, somebody
yeah,
might meet me as an asshole, whether me or them, but it's
yeah,
just the currency of the day and it's because of our current state. And sometimes we don't have the capacity to hold any other vibration.
that's
And
it.
and I love that you just showed up and delivered in a way where you were just like, I see you throwing this my way, and I just refuse to accept it. And that's it. Like you don't have to take it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to become yours. And I think there's not a lot of people that do that.
And look, I love the statement that oppression feels like inequity for those accustomed to privilege. Yeah. And I see this all the time. And when we talk about particularly Indigenous issues, the amount of unfairness that is spruiked from the privileged side. And I think people miss the point. And here in Australia, look at us getting back to where we started. Um,
We're going full
um,
circle.
yeah, your Aboriginality is not defined by colour because of the stolen generations, because of the breeding, the blackout policy. We have a whole bunch of people. You can go to places around Australia, and you have the stereo. Let's say what people are, what people stereotype Aboriginal people to look like. But the diversity, even in that, like if you go across the Americas, people that are from the Lakota tribes will look different to the Hopi tribes, that will look different to Seminole, which will look different to Ojibwe. Here in Australia, same things. People from North Queensland look different to South Australia, look different to Victoria, and then people in more urban settings will have the lighter skin. And so, of course, there's this whole mentality here that, oh, what are you, 1%? Well, we never had blood quantum here like they did with American history, particularly within slaves. That I think it was 1/8. If you were 1/8, as they called it, you were considered, yeah. Whereas here, that was never the case. But yet, that mentality, because of that washing of history. And but acknowledgement, and I say, well, I look like this. I've never walked through a shop being clocked by security and followed because of the way I look. I've not been overtly I've not been the recipient of racism in the same way as my children have, as my ex-husband had been, because of the color of their skin. So I know I carry privilege, and I know that whilst I carry the pride of the ancestry that I was never allowed to celebrate for a long time because of the shame associated with it, I also know that I carry the privilege that that I well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that no two stories are ever the same. We know that, but I would never speak for another person in a sense of spirituality, let alone indigeneity. But I also know that my journey in different ways has its own trauma, and I think recognizing that, and I think that's what understanding your privilege is as well. It's go, well, it doesn't take away me uplifting my darker skinned brothers and sisters, and knowing that their journey, we'd say, let's just say, put it in there, that the overt racism. And I think outside of Australia, people struggle with that. And I've seen narrative over the internet, where particularly, like, say, African American people can't understand that Aboriginal people call themselves black, because they would say that they're brown, like Indian people in America are called brown. And it's like, it just blows my mind. Like, yeah, just, but again, you can't tell another person that. And identity is about who you are, who recognizes you as Indigenous. It's not about you just being a particular look or a particular skin color. It's your connection to community, it's your connection to country, and it's being recognized in that community as Aboriginal Torres Strait. That's what identity is here. And it's yeah. I think if everybody had some kind of contact, experience, immersion in indigeneity, what a world we would have. And even the recognition in spirituality, because most of what we do comes from Indigenous or ancient practice, yet so much of it's been bastardized. And like, it just beggars belief that people think it's okay to sage, and they sage in Native American style practice. And it's like, but that's not your lineage. Oh, I buy massage from a Native American man. I'm like, that's great. But one, it's a resource that is endangered, which then encumbers Native peoples of the North Americans. Why not use eucalyptus leaves here? Why not saning if your lineage is Celtic? Saning, rosemary, lavender. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to start pontificating on all the problems in the spiritual industry.
Well, I'm having a hard time keeping my brain reeled in, right? Because there's all
I
these little
know.
threads that I want to go down, and it's like, oh, we might have to do a part two. Like, we might have to just do this again, because I just think there's so many different ways we could go in our conversation to
Oh,
talk about
right.
things that feel
People don't talk about.
deeply
People don't
important.
talk about. Yeah, and people don't
Yeah.
talk about it. And as a spicy brain and a Libra rising, I have injustice sensitivity plus 25 years in regulation. What do you think? Of
Yeah.
course I'm the moral police. Of course I'm better than everyone. Of course I'm perfect.
I'm just
I'm not.
connecting dots. I love
Disclaimer.
that you I love that you said you're a Libra rising. And then earlier you talked about your divine masculine and your divine feminine and how both were so important. I'm like, well, of course she's Libra something. Like, because we got to have that balance.
Right, and
I'm
balance
like,
means
I'm an
harmony.
Aquarius and a Sag rising, and just don't put me in a box and I'm
Oh.
fine.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, it's Pisces, right? I'm Pisces, March 17. So, of course, I've got a bit of
Oh,
that Aries fire, but I've got the analytical Virgo and the Virgo moon. So, yeah, like, what could, how's that working out for me? Hey?
yeah.
God. Yeah, and I'm always open to the conversation. I'm always open to healthy debate, and being proven the other way. But isn't that healthy debate? Isn't that what it's about? But yeah, I think my injustice sensitivity goes off the charts. I just had another card pop out. Take up
What does
sacred
that say?
space. Take up
Oh,
sacred
well,
space.
that's
Yeah.
very aligned with your truth and speaking it. And yeah, and I think I'm feeling called to make a key point in even just everything we've talked about today, and that is like speaking your truth doesn't mean convincing
No.
or and even like you were talking earlier about like the rebellion and sacred rebellion, which is a very
Yes.
different thing than like I struggle so much with the energy when the world gets chaotic. I'm just going to keep this
Oh,
vague because
yeah.
it never feels like it's coming. It always feels like it's a reflex and a reaction as opposed to a mindful, intentional choice made from
Yes.
like, intention and compassion. And I'm not saying it has to be soft. I'm just saying
No.
reflexes and reaction and reactiveness are, combustible
Mm,
and I think there's a difference between combustion that isn't controlled and transmutation or transformation that
yes.
has a very different energy. And it's the frequency of this all is what's challenging for me because it's hard to put into words. But it's just like the things you spoke of today often will just make me go, yeah, peace out. I'm done. I don't want to have this conversation because
Yeah.
it comes from a different place. And for me, I'm like, if you can't get to, and maybe neutral is a bad word, but if you can't get out of rage,
Yeah.
I can't meet you because I
No,
feel that
that's
energy.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
out. I just cannot.
And it's look, I'm of an age where rage is not a choice. My hormones are raging,
I
and
have
it's
that too.
I'm a woman of a certain rage, you know.
Oh, that's good.
But
That needs to be
yeah,
a t-shirt.
it's designed. I just haven't made it yet. Um, and
That's a dent, girl.
we have a music show here called Rage, and I've got it in the Rage font. Um, but it's like we. I bury my head with some of like it's just too much, and I just can't. Like if the orange man shows up on my feed, I just can't. I just
Yeah.
cannot. And for a whole bunch of reasons, not the obvious ones, but like the tariff situation. As an ex-customs officer who understands tariffs, anyway, I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
But
Not going
but
there.
but yeah, the injustices that are in the world, and yeah, sometimes it gets too much. But I often say, right, men, step aside. It's time for the women to take over. Because if we look at, and in saying that, I think, well, how many times do women get labelled as too masculine or a bitch if they dare to be direct? But yet women tend to marinate a little bit more. And yes, whilst not saying we're not reactive, but it the leadership from the feely side, being emotional, because we're that age where we were told, I'll give you something to cry about, or oh, you're too emotional, you need to calm down. And it's playing out now, the reason why we are all finding our voices at 52, because our whole life it wasn't ladylike and we weren't allowed to speak up. And if silence was safety, because for me, if I was seen, I was abused. You know what I mean? And that was even as an adult in abusive relationship. I had to keep my head down and keep quiet and walk on eggshells. So, but when we look at that world view of things, imagine a world, matriarchal or matrilineal, because a lot of Indigenous cultures were matrilineal, right? The women were the power. Sorry, boys. Sorry, not sorry.
I just go to the place where I'm like, the pendulum's always going to swing. And if you're on one of the ends of the pendulum and you haven't come to center yet to like be in
Yeah,
the wisdom over the rage, then I don't
yeah,
give a shit what if it's divine masculine or divine feminine, as long as
yeah.
it's
That's right.
divine and
Yeah,
it's centered. And I don't mean centered as in like equal balance. I mean
mm,
eyes. I mean connected to the
yeah. Yeah, we
you know.
can't have it too touchy feely, but at the moment it just feels like the whole world is in this ego masculine power tripping, look at me, I need, bring on the Handmaid's Tale of America, like it's life imitating art over there at the moment. I quite often say, stay the fuck out of my uterus. It might be turning to ash as we speak, but just stay the fuck out of it. If you don't have a uterus, you don't have a say. Anyway,
I
that's a
got a
whole other
landmine. What does
podcast.
that mean? Mine's gone.
Oh, stop it. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. You're just like Louise. Oh, I don't have one anymore. Well, you could have got two of us. We could have got a discount. We could have both gone.
That's
But
true.
no, I'm stuck with mine, and Auntie Flo keeps coming back.
Oh my
God.
God.
God, I
That
kicked
is
her out
not
8 months
fun.
ago, and she just came back, uninvited.
Okay, I feel like
We're right. Well over time.
well, no, I feel like let's ground and I love the idea. I want to plant a seed of because I'm gonna go all the way out if we don't ground, if I don't ground. You don't have to ground with me, but I need to ground. I absolutely need to ground. But I feel like we could do another podcast and we could go down the lane of spirituality and all the goodness that comes with that in a
Yeah.
conversation that would be delightful. But I also
Yes.
feel like I just had this conversation with a friend who's of the same age or similar age as me, and we were talking
Yes.
about how, I just turned 56 and no one
Yes.
talks about getting old. No one talks about what it's like. No one
You
talks.
are not.
Yes, I am.
No. Get the fuck out. No.
I'm just saying, like, all this shit starts happening to your body, all this
I
starts going to your brain. You can't really think straight sometimes, and you're like, what the is this horror? Like, what is happening? And I just think nobody really talks about aging. And like, my mom's gone. I can't ask her. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like, I don't
And
really, know.
and everything sags. Everything.
Yes, I hate it so much. I'm trying
Mm,
not to. I
it's
love
like,
it too. I love it too, but I'm just like, oh, I just no one prepared. Like I'm not a vain person. I never have been a vain person. I don't show up that way. But when things start sagging and just you start feeling less, I actually don't feel less strong. So I need to be careful how I word that. But just more wrinkly and more saggy and less dense. And I mean dense from like a tissue
yes, yeah,
perspective.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's something that
I
happens. I'm
know.
like, I have vanity. Where did this come from? I
No.
don't like this.
But the other side of that is like if this happened to us at any other age, we wouldn't cope. If it happened to, I think I saw a video. If menopause happened to men, they'd age 120 years overnight, which I thought was hilarious. But if this happened at any other age, we wouldn't cope because we're at that point of, oh well, I am who I
That's true.
am.
I don't give a
It
fuck. Yeah,
doesn't.
that's
Yeah,
true.
it doesn't mean that we don't look after ourselves and we don't care. I mean, I discovered makeup late in life, and I'm a makeup hooer. I love makeup. If there's
Oh,
an
I still
opportunity to
don't do
put on
it.
makeup, yeah, I will like even my 20 minutes quick face this morning, not mad about it. Um, but I never did it back in the day. One, I couldn't. But yeah, it took me a long time to find it. And I don't wear a lot of makeup, as you can see. It's
Oh,
not heavy
gorgeous.
at
I love
all.
it. I need to
And yeah,
learn.
and my best friend, makeup artist, she taught me.
Oh,
But
beautiful.
yeah, I think, and that was the point of that video, Grandma Metal, was to talk about being seen and aging loudly because I think there's a book out there that about women in their 50s becoming invisible. And
Mm.
what is wild, and I'm not saying everybody, but something that I had noticed here and there um, was we as Gen Xers broke through the competition. Like, not everybody, like, there's still women stuck in the competition, but there's a whole bunch of us out there uplifting each other, understanding that there's enough to go around and together uplifting each other. Yeah, so much better place to be because we were fed that toxic narrative of competition for years. But it's kind of like, and here we are. Well, I know from personal experience support and people I know supporting younger women, but there's no reciprocity there. Like
Yeah.
we're and
Yeah.
again, I caveat that not all women, but I have seen this, and it's like it kind of makes me sad that that is repeating itself because we've tried to break through that. And yeah, do you know, yeah, we're not competition. I mean, we're not. We're aging like fine wine, even if we are
Of
grandmas.
course.
You know, never has Jenna, and never has 50s looked so good, right?
As I'm literally feeling the hot flash come on. Like, I'm like, see how red my face is? I'm like, oh my God, I
Oh,
feel it. It's coming. The back of my hands are sweating. That's my sign.
yeah. Let's probably say we're 15 minutes over. Quick, cut.
Maybe.
That was me all night.
Uh,
I was just in a tropical thunderstorm all night.
yeah.
Oh God.
So first of all, just thank you for today. I really enjoy conversations that just we don't know where they're gonna go, but we know they're gonna be real. What was that? What card was that?
The Empress.
Oh, of course it was. What are we
It
birthing
flew.
together, Kath? What are we
Oh
doing?
my God, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
For sure.
My God,
Uh,
we'll probably end up with our own bloody series of just, what shit Michelle and Kath's talking about today.
we'll have to come up with a clever, like, hypothetically intentional season
Look,
3 episodes, 43 through 53, and then have a clever name with it. Or it doesn't even have to be this podcast. We could do our own separate thing,
oh,
but this has been
we could
delightful.
we
Thank
could
you.
we could have the whole aging thing just as a series.
We should have Instagram wars. Like
Oh my
in
God,
your world today, just do little lives and like,
no, right?
back and forth. Like, all right, Kath,
Oh. Tell me, but predict the future. What's happening in future Kathleen?
Let me tell you how yesterday went. You can tell me how today or tomorrow's gonna go.
Has this been your most chaotic podcast yet?
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of tick like this, so it might not be,
Excellent.
but
Ah,
I do tick
yes,
like this. Yeah.
excellent.
Uh,
Kindred spirits, love
oh
it.
yeah. So do you have any like wrapping up or closing, just something to throw out there? I mean, we talked about a lot of different things, but
I
just
know,
something
right?
that might be really helpful
Okay.
for a listener.
Yep. So remember this, you will be seeing a whole bunch of things on the internet, and it isn't gospel, but the transitioning time is not like the physical flipping the calendar. So whilst the transition might be feeling intense, it might not just be today. It might not just be yesterday. The whole 9 to 1 might take a bit of time because we still hang on to even the toxic parts of our journey, or those wounds, that bit of skin from the snake that we need to shed because it's comfortable. We're so used to it. We've learned how to navigate it. We've learned how to get through life with that heaviness. And it's almost won our badge of honor, or we just, like if it was cancer, we cut it out, right? But we're still carrying it. So it might take a little bit of time for you to find your comfort, or be inspired to go, oh, yep, it is time. So don't beat yourself up if everybody on the internet saying, put it down, let it go, release it, it's time because, the lunar calendar says so. If it's not your time, it's not your time. So trust, everybody's on their own journey, everybody's on their timeline, and these things have crossover points. So recognize what you have put down, recognize how far you have come. Maybe set a couple of little goals to go right by the end of this week, and I don't mean setting a goal of putting it down. It's setting a goal of what joy thing can I put in my life? What is something that's going to uplift me? Remember, the horse doesn't want perfection. It wants honesty. It wants courage. It wants motion as we're going into it. Yeah. So take that wisdom you earned from the last 12 months and move with it.
You just gave so much grace in a narrative that's been really loud lately.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about shedding and putting it down and surrendering and letting it go. Or there's consequence in the fire
Yeah.
horse. And I
Yeah.
love that you just
Uh,
gave grace and you took that away. So thank you for that. That was a beautiful way to wrap it up.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Happy days.
How do you have an easy way for people to find you? I will also put it in the show notes, but just it's not
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
reads, right? So they
No.
can hear it with their ears.
Yeah, look, I think Kath with a C, not Kathy, not Catherine. I am a Catherine, but yeah, Cath Leask, Leask. Pretty much if you Google that or the Loving Lotus, you will find me on all of the socials, my website. Facebook, I tend to be the most active with because hello, Gen X, right? And I have, yeah, I post the tarot in tiny teaspoons, as I call them, the Cath chats, instead of TED Talks, it's Cath chats. And it's
Nice.
literally what is going through my mind that day, unapologetically, unfiltered, yeah, just me. I try to keep them under 3 minutes. Try. Yeah, and I just come play. I have two TikTok accounts. One is the Loving Lotus, and the other one is Cath Leask. One's just exclusively for the tarot in tiny teaspoons. If people don't want the other, me mouthing off
Beautiful.
about something. Thank you
I
very much.
love it. Thank you so much. I'm
Oh,
going to hit
all
stop
right,
and we are going to do this again soon.
how much fun? Oh my god, that was golden.
Thank
Loved it.
you.